Ever heard a song that reminds you of another? Of course you do. Happens to me all the time. Way too many times, in fact, that I had to start writing them down. By the time I wrote 10 down, I knew I had to make a video out of it. So if you're interested in knowing or hearing what song or songs inspired your favorite contemporary songs, keep on watching. What's up, beautiful people? Welcome and welcome back to my channel. My name is Yaira, but you can call me Yaya. Over here on the channel, we talk all things leveling up, like productivity, not the toxic kind, some mindfulness. I talk about Cameroon quite a bit. It is, after all, where I'm from, and those videos never miss. They always do well. And I talk Disney as well, because I like Disney and I did work for Disney for almost a decade. And today we're doing none of the above. Before I go any further though, for those of you guys watching this on YouTube, my Patreon is now live, you guys. If you're looking for additional content, it'll be on Patreon. Now, Patreon is a monthly subscription. So if you're feeling up to it, the link will be down below in the description box. It is $10 a month. No pressure, of course. Now, all my videos from now on will be going live on Patreon first before they come on YouTube next. That's the early bird access perk. And then some of the videos will not leave Patreon. They will stay exclusively on Patreon. Why, you may ask? Because they are too spicy for YouTube? Like the story time I have coming up about the Florida man who lied to me about being a trauma surgeon. That one will air in 2 weeks, only on Patreon. I have receipts and screenshots. It's juicy. Again, the link is below if you want to check it out. It is $10 a month. Now back to the topic at hand. Summer is in full swing at this point. Even though according to Starbucks, it is fall, what with the beginning of their sales of pumpkin spice everything. This video is going live on YouTube on August 11th, so very much summer. And the thing that comes to mind, aside from hot, sticky weather, the smell of sun-warmed garbage, and more thunderstorms, is the song of the summer. Remember when that was a thing? Is that even still a thing? Anyway, I finally listened to Chloe Bailey's album in pieces about 4 months ago and immediately noticed that one of the tracks on the album was a do-over of an old Usher song. The one that got Chloe a lot of backlash because Chris Brown was featured on the track. By the way, my favorite track on that album is Told Ya with Missy Elliott. It should have been her first single instead of Pray It Away, in my opinion. Cheat Back with Future is my second fave off the album. Now, I don't condone cheating back, just go your separate ways, but the lyrics are snappy, much like Beyonce's Irreplaceable. It's the acoustic guitar for me also. Moving right along, I'll be tracing current contemporary songs back to the song of origin or song that came before that may have inspired current song, or just two songs that sound very similar because they may have been produced by the same person. So I'll have the original song first, and then the interpolation, remix, or cover next. I already know this video is going to be copyrighted or copywritten, and so I'm not quite sure how long I'm going to have it on here on YouTube. Now, if YouTube tells me that I've caused irreparable damage, I'll have to private the video and it'll only be available on Patreon. Also, I am no expert, but I do think I have a good ear, and I interned at a radio station for 5 months back in 2012, so there's that. Clear Channel Media and Entertainment, if you're wondering. So here in Philly, they cover Power 99, Q102, and is it 103.9 The Beat? 103.9 The Beat, a hip-hop and R&B station, was one of the stations. It was merged with 100.3, which played adult, old school R&B, to create 100.3 The Beat, playing hip-hop and R&B. In yet another rebrand, The Beat moniker was dropped and 100.3 was back to playing just adult R&B, and it's now WR&B. This was a long-winded way of saying 103.9 The Beat no longer exists. But those were the 3 stations Clear Channel covered back when I interned. Also, I'm going to be just talking about songs that I know or songs I recently discovered were do-overs. because I didn't do a whole lot of research on this. I'm well aware there will be tons that I miss. I can't possibly do a video about all the songs that were ever sampled. I mean, I can do anything I set my mind to, but this ain't one of them. Also, this isn't a breakdown of the history of sampling or music publishing strategy. The Take right here on YouTube already did an excellent video on that last summer following the Beyonce Khalees incident. Julesy and FD Signifier have more in-depth videos about that, so if that's what you're looking for and you're interested in that sort of thing, I'll have those videos linked down below in the description box. Very last disclaimer, I'm well aware that there are several of these kinds of videos out there, none of which I have watched. That way it's not like I'm copying somebody else's work. So without further ado, let's get into this video finally. Fashion trends, much like music trends, always repeat themselves. Right now, the late 90s through early 2000s have made a comeback in the form of heroin chic, neutral tone makeup, the no makeup look, or the clean girl makeup because nostalgia. A contributing factor, I think, to Olivia Rodrigo's success 2 years ago at this point. Check out this video by The Take where it's discussed in depth. Very insightful. And since we are on the topic of Olivia Rodrigo, let's talk about how her song Good For You was compared to Paramore's Misery Business. This was intriguing to me because when I listened to the lyrics, where one girl is remarking how quickly her ex has moved on, the other is bragging about stealing somebody else's boyfriend, or more precisely, waiting for the guy that she likes to dump his girlfriend, to then start dating him and then rub it in the other girl's face. I think that's what Haley was saying in the song. Now feel free to correct me in the comments section if I misunderstood. So basically opposing perspectives of a situation. And then one girl, Haley, is more punk rock in style, and then the other, Olivia, isn't. One song started off hitting the ground running, and the other is sort of a slow build up. But I guess people were comparing the delivery of the performances. But the more I listened to both songs, I realized that the melody of the choruses were very similar. Murky territory for artists these days. They can get sued for their song sounding like somebody else's, even if it wasn't intentional, like Ed Sheeran and Robin Thicke, just to name a couple. Anyway, let's move on to another more recent and hella popular one. Big Energy by Latto versus Fantasy by Mariah Carey versus Grandmaster Flash versus Dr. Jeckyll and Mr. Hyde versus Genius of Love by Tom Tom Club. Let me know in the comment section if I missed one because I only just recently found out about the Grandmaster Flash and the Dr. Jeckyll and Mr. Hyde version. First Class by Jack Harlow versus Glamorous by Fergie is yet another popular one. Then there's Lady Gaga's Heavy Metal Lover, a seriously underrated song much like Bloody Mary, versus Radio Gaga by Queen. Now with this one I may get some pushback, but the bass line of Chloe's Have Mercy sounds a bit like Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B's WAP. Ooh, that song made conservatives mad in 2020. Jay-Z's Young Forever versus Alphaville's Forever Young. Ashanti's Foolish versus Biggie's One More Chance. Bootylicious by Destiny's Child versus Edge of 17 by Stevie Nicks. Cassidy, I'm a Hustler versus Jay-Z's Dirt Off Your Shoulder. Bring 'Em Out by T.I. versus Jay-Z's What More Can I Say from the Black Album, the album after which he was supposed to be retiring. Nice for What by Drake versus X Factor by Lauryn Hill. Notice Drake included the blue filter over that part of the video in case we didn't already get the memo that the song was sampled. Not going to lie, this is one of my favorite Drake songs, and I'm not even into Drake. Never have been. I remember a year after I graduated college, Drake was going to be performing at my alma mater for the annual spring concert, and I could not be bothered. In previous years, so between 2005 and 2009, I remember we had Taking Back Sunday, LMFAO, Gym Class Heroes, and T-Pain, if my memory serves me correctly. There were some other bands in between whose names I don't remember. I went to a PWI for context, in case you're wondering. PWI stands for Predominantly White Institution, whereas my high school was predominantly black. Good times. Alright, back to the music. SOS by Rihanna versus Tainted Love by Nicole Scherzinger from the Pussycat Dolls versus Tainted Love by Soft Cell. The Way It Is by Bruce Hornsby and The Range, and Changes by Tupac. Please Don't Stop the Music by Rihanna versus Wanna Be Startin' Something by the King of Pop, Michael Jackson, who of course sampled from a Cameroonian legend, Manu Dibango. Refer to my Cameroonian Legends video and my Cameroon Tag video. You Spin Me Round Like a Record by Dead or Alive versus Right Round by Flo Rida. Flo Rida is a seriously underrated rapper. He made some hits in the late 2000s into the 2010s. Elevator is my favorite song. I Wanna Know What Love Is by Foreigner versus I Wanna Know What Love Is by Mariah Carey versus I Wanna Know What Love Is by Wynonna Judd. That was my song when I was growing up. The original version by Foreigner, along with Alphaville's Forever Young. Another Day in Paradise by Brandy and Ray J, and Phil Collins' Another Day in Paradise. Africa by Toto versus Africa with a K by this French rapper called Two Couleurs. Come Together by the Beatles versus Come Together by Michael Jackson. Two icons. Yes, I'm counting the Beatles as one unit. Boots Are Made for Walking by Nancy Sinatra. Was that Frank Sinatra's wife or sister? Versus Boots Are Made for Walking by Jessica Simpson in Dukes of Hazzard. I cannot stand Jessica Simpson's version of the song. She's doing that breathy Britney Spears thing, but she can actually sing. No shade towards Britney Spears, she's an icon, but she used to do that breathy thing in her earlier songs. Cette soirée-là by this French rapper called Yannick, and Oh What a Night by Frank Valli and Four Seasons. Candy by Cameo and Before I Let Go by Frankie Beverly and Maze, and Before I Let Go by Beyonce. My aunt always used to have that radio station, Philly's WJJZ, playing in her car, and this song used to always come on. The Frankie Beverly version, that is. Along with other old school R&B like Luther Vandross and the Isley Brothers. Move On Up by Curtis Mayfield, Touch the Sky by Ye. Jay-Z's encore kinda sounds like an interpolation of Touch the Sky. Sounds like the notes were reversed or something. I don't read music, so I know nothing about notes. But if you do read music, please let me know in the comment section if you get what I'm saying. Kanye used to make beats for Jay-Z, so it wouldn't surprise me if Encore was indeed an interpolation of Touch the Sky. Also, sidebar, the first time I heard the Move On Up song was while watching Bend It Like Beckham. Gold Digger by Ye versus Ray Charles's I've Got a Woman. Nas, Rule versus Everybody Wants to Rule the World by Tears for Fears. Donna Summer's I Feel Love versus Beyonce's Summer Renaissance. Milkshake by Khalees versus Beyonce's Energy. Jaquan's Tipsy versus Grinding by Clips. Now I get the Mean Girls reference.
I'm your pusher from the Neptunes, and I just want to let y'all know I'm your pusher. The world.
Because I'm a pusher. I push people. She was so queer. She was like, I'm a pusher, Katie. I'm a pusher. What does that even mean? Like a drug pusher? Probably. She said she works 3 jobs. You know, I bet she sells drugs on the side to pay for a pathetic divorce.
Kids in America by Kim Wilde versus Kids in America, No Secrets. I cannot tell you how much I wanted the pants the girls were wearing or any jeans with glitter or designs on them. All the girls at school had them and I wanted a pair or 2 as well, but they were out of our budget. Pony by Genuine and Jump by Rihanna. Sing for the Moment by Eminem versus Dream On by Iris Smith. Ready or Not by the Fugees versus I Don't Wanna Know by Mario. Just a Friend by Biz Markie versus Just a Friend 2002 by Mario. This song reminds me of the 9th grade. The Mario version, that is. I remember him, B2K, Bow Wow, Code 5, and like B5 were like the hottest young black male artists at the time. So circa 2001 through 2004-ish. And sidebar, what happened to guys hollering at girls and getting your number? I really miss that. One in a Million by my girl Aaliyah versus Wild Side Side by Normani. I am so disappointed this song didn't chart well. That video is insane, and I'm talking about Wild Side by Normani. The choreography is killer. It really is a shame. As Nicki Minaj said,
Normani is that bitch.
Post Malone basically redid Hootie and the Blowfish's Only Wanna Be With You for a Pokemon Day celebration. Fun fact, I didn't realize the lead singer of the group was black until I saw the video for the first time like last month. Good Life by Ye versus PYT by Michael Jackson. I really do miss the old Kanye.
George Bush doesn't care about black people.
Crazy in Love by Beyonce versus Are You My Woman by the Chi-Lites. Dua Lipa featuring Elton John, Cold Heart versus Sacrifice by Elton John. Another one of my faves growing up, except I did not know who was singing it for the longest until the do-over with Dua Lipa 2 years ago. Chaka Khan Through the Wire by Ye. Man, he sampled a lot of songs. Also, it's only now at this big age that I'm listening to the lyrics of Through the Wire and realizing how truly sad it was. I'll Be Missing You by Diddy and Faith Evans versus Every Breath You Take by The Police. This song was featured in one of my favorite movies called Until September. I Will Always Love You, Whitney Houston versus I Will Always Love You by Dolly Parton. Again, two icons. Out of My Head by Fastball versus Bad Things by Camila Cabello and MGK. Hound Dog by Big Mama Thornton versus Hound Dog by Elvis versus Vegas by Doja Cat. Wild Thoughts by Rihanna versus Maria Maria by Carlos Santana. Rihanna had everybody and your mama in the beauty community replicating that look from the video, including myself, and I'm not even in the beauty community, but I replicated it 4 years too late in this video. Super Freak by Rick James versus MC Hammer's Can't Touch This versus Super Freaky Girl by Nicki Minaj. Baby Got Back by Sir Mix-a-Lot versus Anaconda by Nicki Minaj. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I think Sir Mix-a-Lot and Mike Epps look very much alike. Corinne Bailey Put Your Records On versus Records by Rit Momney. That name tripped me up initially. I thought it was Mitt Romney. I was about to say, is this dude making music now? Girls Just Wanna Have Fun by Cyndi Lauper versus Hey Now by Triple Image. That song was all over Radio Disney, the Triple Image version, that is. And last but certainly not least, I Like It by Cardi B versus I Like It by Pete Rodriguez. And I Like It by the Blackout All-Stars. Yeah, that Cardi B song was the song of the summer of 2018. It was everywhere. Reminds me of warm summer nights in Florida. Such a vibe. And I actually was in Florida at this point. The video has over 1 billion views on YouTube now. And that, my friends, wraps up this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed filming it. And yeah, like, share, comment, all that good stuff if you're watching this on YouTube. And yeah, thanks for watching. Stay cool in this heat wave, and as Evelyn from the internet says,
see him on the internet somewhere
next week. Ugh. The radio station.